When you think about convicted prisoners, you automatically assume these people got caught, sentenced to prison, and lost all their belongings in the process. You couldn't be more wrong. Some convicted criminals are actually still sitting on their fortunes, waiting for them if they ever get out. Today, we will check out top 10 richest prisoners in the world. 10. Michael Jace, $400,000 to $1 million. According to LA Times, the eldest son overheard Jace say, "If you like running, then run to heaven." Jace, ironically, was most well known for his role as a police officer on The Shield. On the May 20th of 2014, Jace was arrested after he fatally shot his wife April Jace. A jury subsequently convicted him of second-degree murder on May 31, 2016, and on June 10, 2016, sentenced him to 40 years to life in prison. He was part of the main cast and appeared in 89 episodes through all 7 seasons. His character started as a rookie cop who had internal conflicts between his belief in the teachings of the Bible and his homosexuality. Jace's TV appearance included the 1995 HBO TV movie Tyson as boxer Mitch Green, Cold Case, and the 1999 Fox TV movie Michael Jordan, An American Hero, as Jordan. Jace began his professional acting career in 1992, appearing in an episode of Law & Order. In 1994, he appeared in several TV shows, including Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and films including Clear and Present Danger and Forrest Gump, where he portrayed a member of the Black Panthers. 9. Phil Spector, $35 million. The 80-year-old record producer credited on IMDb for his work on iconic 80s films Top Gun, Dirty Dancing, and 16 Candles has been sitting in prison since his 2009 second-degree murder conviction. According to the LA Times, Spector was the first celebrity found guilty in over 40 years. Actress Lena Clarkson was found shot in Spector's home in 2003. During witness testimony, Diane Ogden claimed she too had been threatened with a gun by Spector in a testimony, an attempt to intimidate her into sex. His alleged pattern of violence towards women is disturbing. This begs the question as to why Spector's work has been credited on an incredible amount of TV shows and movies since his guilty verdict. Although his music is no doubt influential, it's still slightly discomforting to hear it on The Simpsons and the Saturday Night Live. 8. Martin Shkreli, $70 million. Martin Shkreli made headlines in 2015 when he was arrested for securities fraud. The Turing Pharmaceuticals CEO was eventually sentenced to 7 years in prison in March of 2018. His specific crimes included defrauding investors in his hedge funds, MSMB Capital and MSMB Healthcare, out of millions of dollars and refusing to pay them back in cash. However, these crimes were not what made the then 35-year-old public enemy number one. After inflating prices for a life-saving medication by 5,500%, Shkreli dismissed criticism by claiming, "Giving a second chance, I probably would have raised the price higher." 7. Stuart Parnell, unknown. Although his net worth is unknown, the former owner of the Peanut Corporation of America, PCA, must have been pretty wealthy considering how much Americans love peanut butter. Wealth aside, Stuart Parnell's crimes make him worthy of a spot on this list. In 2015, Parnell was handed a 28-year sentence for corporate food poisoning. The salmonella outbreak of 2008, responsible for the deaths of 9 people, were linked to PCA's peanut butter paste, according to CNN. Allegedly, Parnell was aware of the dangers posed by the paste, but told employees, "Just ship it." Parnell's was a tragical example of corporate greed gone too far. 6. Wong Huang Yu, $1.6 billion. Wong Huang Yu was a high school dropout who founded Gome Electrical Appliances in Beijing in 1987 on borrowed cash. His was an aspiring success story up until his 2010 arrest. Convicted for bribery, insider trading, and stock manipulation, the billionaire is expected to be released in 2024. The investigation of his crimes was rather sudden, leading many to question the motivations behind his arrest. It is well known that CEOs occasionally cozy up to government officials. In this case, 5 were arrested in association with Wong. The scandal surrounding this case even transcended borders. 3 Bain Capital executives associated with Wong were also fired after the incident, though ultimately allowed to return to their positions. 5. NG Lap Seng, $1.8 billion. NG Lap Seng from Macau made his fortune in real estate. He was arrested in 2015 over bribery charges. The South China Morning Post reported the allegations against him as paying the late former UN General Assembly President John Ash to support the development of a UN conference center in Macau. Despite his previous pleas of innocence, U.S. courts found him guilty, hearing testimony from UN official Francis Lorenzo that he had indeed received bribes. NG's lawyers reportedly claimed the prosecution was politically motivated to stop Chinese influence over developing nations. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison in 2018 and further fined $1 million for his crime. 4. Alan Stanford, $2.2 billion. Alan Stanford became infamous for his role in creating the second largest investor fraud scandal in U.S. history. His $8 billion Ponzi scheme was shut down in 2009 after an FBI raid. The 13 felony counts that landed the billionaire 110 years in prison served as little comfort to his tens of thousands of victims. The money he had stolen was long spent, and the former investors have only received 5 cents back for every dollar given to Stanford. Many of those victims were middle class, teachers, nurses, police officers, etc. The losses they suffered were in large part due to Stanford's convincing act of legitimacy. He had partnerships with Toronto Dominion Bank, HSBC, and Societe Generale. Allegedly, despite receiving reports of Stanford breaking banking laws in California and Florida, it took over a decade for authorities to put him behind bars. 3. Ding Yuzin, multi-billionaire. Ding Yuzin was the chairman of the Boyu Investment Management Corp. In Shaanxi, China. In 2014, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison for bribery. Beijing courts concluded that Ding gave Railway Minister Liu Zhijun 49 million yuan, roughly $7 million, in exchange for government contracts. Her company was responsible for securing 57 railway projects for clients valued at 185.5 billion yuan, or nearly $30 billion. The exact value of Ding's fortunes before her arrest is difficult to find, but every estimate concludes she was a billionaire. Unfortunately for her, all of her connections will now do her no good. She was fined $2.5 billion and her personal property was confiscated. The court found that Ms. Ding used her influence with the former railroad minister, Liu Zhijun, to help railroad construction contractors win bids for 57 projects from 2007 to 2010. Reported Xinhua, the state-run news agency. She funneled $8 million worth of kickbacks to Mr. Liu in return for his assistance with the contracts while taking an illegal cut of more than $325 million for herself. Though Ms. Ding had only an elementary school education and once worked as an egg seller, she built a large business empire with interest in coal and rail that gave her access to Mr. Liu, who was Minister of Railroads from 2003 until 2011, an era that saw China's high-speed rail network grow to become the world's largest, but also left the rail system drowning in debt. 2. Victor Bout, $6 billion. Victor Bout is undoubtedly the scariest man on the list. Dubbed the Merchant of Death, Bout profited from terrorists, drug cartels, and even civil wars. He became well known for the defense community in the 80s when tens of thousands of AK-47s began appearing in the hands of West African fighters. Even the US government unknowingly hired Bout to supply troops in Iraq while they were searching to arrest him. He was sentenced to 25 to life in 2011 despite entering a not guilty plea. Bout has attempted to appeal his conviction many times. He has also requested to finish serving his sentence in Russia, where he is from. After the election of Donald Trump in 2016, Bout and his wife made a public appeal to the then president-elect to pardon him. As of today, he is still in prison. 1. Bernie Madoff, $17 billion. The former NASDAQ Stock Exchange chairman is famous for running the largest Ponzi scheme in U.S. history. He defrauded his investors for over $50 billion over 2 decades. Madoff claims that the banks he defrauded, including HSBC and the Royal Bank of Scotland, were complicit. Regardless, Madoff is the one serving 150 years in maximum security. His scheme victimized thousands of people, including celebrity clients like Steven Spielberg, Kevin Bacon, and Larry King. Madoff hurt a lot of people, but unlike Stanford's victims, at least they have been given more financial compensation, though not all of it, sadly. Do let us know in the comments, what are your thoughts about these criminals? Thanks for watching.